Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host, and my co-host, the Captain Ed Mehmet, unfortunately is not here today. I think he's still trying to collect funds to run for New York City mayor. So he'll be back next week. But until then, we have a great show for you today. Today, we're very fortunate to have Penny Lancaster. Penny Lancaster is not only the author, also a model, supermodel, and happens to be the wife of Rod Stewart, the rock star. She's also a police officer, as we say, on the job. She's on the job in the UK. She's in London, England, and she's here to discuss basically how it works on the job in the UK. Penny, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So happy you're here. If you don't mind, could you tell our audience a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and
Sure. Well, yes, as you say, I'm from London, from a county called Essex. I was born and grew up, went to school, dated, my whole life was in Essex, and that happens to be where I first met my future husband, Rod Stewart. Well,
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Essex, okay.
in London, actually. But he lived in a local area in Essex where I grew up. So that was some 25 years ago now.
Wow. And you have two children?
Two children, okay. Yeah. Alistair, who's 19,
okay,
and Aidan, who's 14.
Oh.
Rod and I always say we have 8 children collectively, but I only gave birth to 2 of them.
Gotcha, 2 of them. So, Penny, what inspired you to become a police officer?
Well, I was given the opportunity. I work a lot in TV. There's a show in London called Loose Women. It's very similar to The View, I believe, that you have here,
okay.
A panel of women discussing all sorts of topics. And through some of my TV work, I was given the chance to work with Cambridgeshire Police Constabulary. So I thought, why not? What an exciting experience it was going to be for sort of household names. They called it Famous and Fighting Crime. And we spent 3 weeks sort of entrenched working with regular police officers as well as special constables. So special constables are volunteers, so they don't get paid, but they have the same powers as a regular police officer. There's also another role in policing called PCSOs. They are police community service officers. So although they do a great job in assisting some of the police work, they get paid, but they do not have the same powers as I do as a special constable. And through that TV show, I got to work alongside with both regulars and specials. And I realised that through working with them, the specials said they have 9-to-5 jobs, but in their spare time, they volunteer to help the police force. And so I started thinking during that 3 weeks, loved every minute of it, and I thought, is this possible for me? Am I going to be able to squeeze that in with all the travel that I do, my other work and family commitments? But you have to commit to 200 hours a year, which works out about 1 duty a week. Okay. And I signed up and I did the 8 weeks training, and you have to do refreshers every year.
So when you did the police training,
yeah,
how long is that? Is that a 6-month process?
It was 8 weeks actually.
8 weeks, okay.
Yeah. But it was pretty intense. And as I said, we have to do a refresher course every year of the PCS, the personal safety training, as well as first aid. And it's based on a lot of scenario-based training. So they'll put you in situations where you might commonly be expected to perform your duty.
So what, could you give us one of those situations in the academy?
Well, first of all, I signed up, and not with the Metropolitan Police, but I'm with the City of London Police.
Okay.
So it's just a square mile in the financial district of London. We wear slightly different uniforms. The Met would be just black and white, and the city is distinguished with their red and white.
Okay.
So we get like opportunities to do really amazing roles, working on the Lord Mayor's show that happens once a year, the London Marathon, and then on some of the bigger state events, like sadly the funeral of Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty the Queen, when she passed away, and then more excitingly for the coronation of King Charles. Wow. So we get involved in a lot of things as well as the regular foot patrol duties, which I mostly perform, and that involves the square mile as well as all the bridges in London that cross the Thames River.
So basically you're on foot patrol?
Yes,
pretty
foot
much.
Patrol.
Tell us about your first day on patrol. Your first day right out of the academy.
Yes, first day was really nerve-wracking. Even going into the changing rooms to my locker and changing into the uniform, it was really quite bizarre. I had to keep pinching myself. Is this really me? You know, I took the pledge and I got my badge 4 years ago in April 2001. And
do they have badge numbers?
Yeah, we have.
What's your badge number?
Well, we have a collar number and a warrant number, so there's two different numbers. 1146.
1146.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have my badge with me today. I wish I'd brought it.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I've only performed 2 arrests. One was drunk drive and one was drug drive.
I'm sorry. One was drunk.
Drug. One was drug and one
drunk.
was drunk.
Okay.
How
did that come about?
Well, first of all, the vehicles were pulled over for different reasons. One was speeding and one was because the windows were blacked out. So then, of course, as you know, there might be a simple reason for pulling a vehicle over, but once you start talking to the passenger and the driver, other things can be established, and then you build your grounds for further questioning and possible searches and arrests, and it sort of came about like that. But a lot of the time, I think when people ask me questions about, regular civilians ask about my policing role, I think they think you're chasing baddies all day long. But actually, I find being on the front line and being on foot patrol, you're dealing with a lot of victims firsthand that come up to you and with concerns. So it was during lockdown, my first experiences on foot patrol. So we were stationed a lot of the time to go to the bridges where sadly people were attempting to commit suicide. And there was one chap that came up to us and said that he had suicidal thoughts. He was a young boy, only 19, carrying rosary beads. So I really felt like I brought my other skill sets of just being a mother and having that compassion and empathy to the job role, and immediately introduced myself as Penny, not just as a police officer, just that human contact, and encouraged him to leave the bridge. And then we were able to sit down, and we have our triage nurse who is on duty at the station. She came out and joined me, and then we were able to have a conversation. And after about an hour, we were satisfied that he was okay to go home, and I kept contact with him. So it's different scenarios like that. You know, another woman, she came running up to me crying that a man was following her, and she felt he was stalking her because it was over a period of time, 4 or 5 occasions. She found this man following her. So we followed up on those leads using CCTV, and so I think for me, when I was younger, I experienced sexual violence, and those predators never came to justice. So I always feel that maybe that's why I ended up in policing, to kind of, look after women on the street, and particularly because violence against women is obviously one of those calls to duty that is very prevalent at the moment.
Penny, brings me to my next question. What do you find is the most rewarding about being a police officer?
Well, I think through the TV show and working side by side with the other officers, when I asked them what it was that drew them to the job, it sounds corny, but they said they felt like they make a difference. And Rod and I were both involved in a lot of charity work, but I never felt it was tangible enough. But being every duty I go out on, I feel I make a difference to somebody's life, and that feels like very rewarding. And as well as me being able to give back to my community, I didn't realise how much it would give back to me in return.
That's perfect. I mean, you just said it right there. But when you're in uniform and you respond to a scene, and people realize you're Penny, who you are.
Yeah.
You're a celebrity. I mean, you're a model and successful model, and as we said, an author and Rod Stewart's wife. I mean, is there any? How do they react to you when they realize who it is in uniform?
Well, mostly, as you know, we police with the public's consent. The police are the public are the police. But sadly, I feel that there's a lot of trust that has been lost between the police and the public, and I think a lot of the time it's because members of the public just see a uniform. They don't necessarily see the person behind the uniform. They don't see that there's a mother, an uncle, a brother. We're just members of the public with a uniform on. So a lot of the time I don't get recognised. I've done a few duties where I've done plain clothes, and that doesn't really work for me.
Gotcha.
Occasionally, when I've spent a longer period of time talking with somebody, maybe it's the sound of my voice and my mannerisms. Sometimes it clicks, and are you? It is you, isn't it? I kind of like to think that I'm the positive face of policing, and I like to bring a lot of positive news to what the police do for, day to day, because there's always so much negative attached to policing. So I've kind of built a lot of traction, I think, so more people are aware of me out on the street. But it's always in a positive way, and if anything gets a little spicy, I think if people do recognise it's me, it helps to de-escalate situations. It's sort of then they see the human behind the uniform.
Yeah. Do you think more public figures like yourself should get involved in policing, or try to get more involved in regards to fundraising for widows and children, etc.?
I think it's important for any member of public, especially those who are in a position to draw awareness, to volunteer in whichever role they feel is right for them. For me, it's the perfect role, and I felt like it's sort of been waiting for me to come along all this time, and I wish I'd found it earlier.
Right. No, it's a great field. You know what I mean? And it's a calling.
It
is. I mean, we definitely don't do it for even the full-time police officers. They don't do it. Well, I never did it for the money because exactly. You need second job to pay the bills anyway.
Yes.
And when you retire, you get a pension, but you still need a second job to continue to pay the bills. So it's a calling for sure.
Yes.
And
absolutely. There are risks obviously involved.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. But you don't think. Well, I mean, you want to go home to your family.
Yeah.
But you don't think about the risk. No. Because if you do, then you'd be going crazy every minute of the day. So you just have to get in there, put the hat on, get in the game, and do what's got to be done. And then later on, sometimes you think about it like, oh, what the hell just happened? Mm-hmm. Well, what did we just do? You know what I mean? And, it's nice to be able to talk about it later on. In regards to managing the stress and mental health, how do you, is it a problem with with your police department in regards to any mental health issues, stress, suicides?
Within the force itself, there's always a debrief after every situation. So every officer is spoken to as a group, as a whole, after a particular difficult situation, an incident they've been called to. And then if any individual at the time or at a later date feels that there's been an effect on them, on their mental state because of that situation, then there's always an outlet for someone to go to have that conversation with. So you feel that your department, they actually they have a plan set up in regards to anyone needs any help? Yeah. For a job they just handled and they're very stressed out about it, or whatever the case may be, or any issues going on at home. Exactly. They're very good, yeah. Unfortunately, especially with NYPD, unfortunately, we've had too many suicides, even the past 2 years. We've had probably anywhere from 5 or 6 of them. That's awful. One recently the other day.
So it's sad, you know. You don't know really what's in someone's head, but you don't know. You know, you want to talk to someone, but if they're not telling you what's going on, then you really don't know. Very sad. And all these guys I'm talking about and girls, they're young. They're in their 20s and 30s. I mean, they're young, committing suicide, you know. But it's, you know, I mean, so now that you're a police officer and you went from celebrity being a police officer, still always a celebrity, how do you, you know, what is your, did it change your mind? Like, how did you always think about police officers? Well, I'm sure you always were supportive of police officers. Okay?
Yeah, I've always respected police officers, looked up to them. As I said, when I was younger, I was a victim to crime myself, and I've always felt that I was treated fairly, and I was believed, and I felt I was trusted with the information and given all the support. It was just sadly, you know, those particular incidents weren't resolved to find a suspect or to make, you know, have them guilty in the end. But I've always had great admiration. In fact, what bridged the gap between the show that I did and becoming a police officer was getting involved in a charity called COPS, standing for Care of Police Survivors. They also have a subsidiary, I believe, in America as well. And basically it's a charity that looks after families of officers that have lost their life on duty. Or not just on duty physically, but because, of course, officers are always on duty, aren't they, whether they're working or not. And that would include accidents or suicides or any death, really. And the charity is amazing because, as you know, within policing, we look at our colleagues as one big family because we're all there to support one another. But also, we wouldn't be able to do our job as a police officer without the support of our families at home.
Very true.
The people that, as you say, have to say goodbye to their loved ones, hoping they'll come home. Yep. But sadly, that's not the case. So this charity reaches out to those families and continues that support and makes them feel that they're still part of the force. And if they need any help psychologically with therapy, that charity will provide that for them. And something as simple as when the children get to an age where they might be doing their driving lessons and their parent that was the officer would have normally have paid for those driving lessons, then the charity would do that. It will just sort of step in and be a reminder that they've not been forgotten.
So would you say that your town is very supportive of the police?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Very supportive, which is great. That's great to hear. You know?
Yeah.
Now, how do you juggle, Penny, being a mom, you know, a public figure, Rod Stewart's wife, amongst many, and of course being a police officer? How do you juggle everything?
It is as you put it. It's a juggling act.
Yep.
But you know, and there are 8 children, so ranging from 45 down to 14, and now we have grandchildren as well. And Roger celebrated his 80th birthday, and we got everybody together on a boat holiday to celebrate. And so it's just having good organisation skills, thinking of all the logistics and pleasing everybody. Yep. But I do take time for myself to, for my own role, whether it's in TV and policing really is kind of a saviour in a sense. Yeah. That's really what I do just for my soul.
Right. No, that's great. Now, so can you tell us, how did you meet Rod Stewart? Or I should say, how did he meet you?
It was a Christmas party at a hotel called the Dorchester in London, and they had a nightclub downstairs. And he was there with his band. He happened to be on tour at the time. I wasn't aware of it. And I was with a group of friends. And one of my friends was a huge fan and said, "Penny, I need you to get me an autograph. I'm too nervous to go over." And I said, "Go over to who?" Well, it was Rod Stewart's in the corner and he's surrounded by lots of people and I don't want to go over, you go. So I'm 6'1". And I've always been the one that my friends will go to kind of push me forward ahead of everyone to kind of get the job done. So I was like, sure, I'll go and get an autograph. And when I went over, I asked politely, and he gave me my autograph for my friend and asked if I was a good dancer. I said, well, I enjoy dancing. He said, I'm going to come and watch you. The next minute, I'm on the dance floor with my friends. He's asked me over for a drink. But then he had finished around that time a relationship with his previous wife, and he needed some time to reflect on that. So it wasn't until 9 months later that his bass player, the guitar player Carmine Rojas, handed Rod my telephone number and said, okay, I think you're ready now. So 9 months after we first met, we had our first date. And
oh, wow.
The rest was history.
Lucky Rod. That's great. Do you have a favorite song from
I think Sailing's got to be my favorite. It's such an anthem. And it's one of those kind of emotional ballads. I love it.
Okay.
Running a business comes with a lot of what ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Penny, another question. Crime in your town, crime in the UK. How would you say, is it up, down, or?
Well, from a policing point of view, I've only been on the job, as I say, for 4 years, but there has been an increase in violence against women, and I know in the City of London Police, where I perform my duties, we have an operation called Operation Reframe. And we set up a welfare tent at Liverpool Street Station, which is one of the main stations in the city. And we invite members of public to come and discuss any issues, problems, concerns that they might have. You can do a walk and talk with the police officer, show them around maybe their journey from the workplace to their transport home, if there's particular streets that are dark or they feel uncomfortable with. There's obviously a rise in things like spiking of drinks. So we put a lot of factors into dealing with those kind of crimes. And then there's Ask for Angela, which is a call if you're in a bar or club, that if a female in particular feels vulnerable on a first date, or the people that they're in company with, instead of alerting that person that they're with that they have a concern, they can go to a bar member and simply say, can I ask for Angela? And that is a code to call the police. So we've put a lot of things in place to particularly care for violence against women.
So basically you would say crime is down overall, though?
I'm not sure on particular statistics, but I know in that particular area we're upping our efforts to take care of the safety of women.
Okay, and now how about homicides?
Fortunately, in the City of London, as I say, it's a very small area of London. It's just 1 square mile, and there's only been one homicide in 7 years.
Oh, fantastic. So homicides are down then. For sure. Sounds good. Now, I understand you just wrote a book. You have a book coming out, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. This is... want to tell us about your book?
Yeah, it's Penny Lancaster, called Someone Like Me, and it's basically connecting the dots from when I was a youngster, as I say, the victim of crime. I suffered at school with bullying and with learning difficulty of dyslexia, which still forms a part of my life today. But I've found that there are great tools and positive sides to dyslexia, which I talk about. I talk about being a mother, childbirth, going through menopause, and of course into policing. So it covers so many aspects of growing up and being a woman itself, that I think it can relate to a lot of other people. Just because I'm as you know, as you say, a celebrity and married to a rock star, I'm just a regular girl next door too.
No, I know that for sure. You know, I've been, it's been a pleasure knowing you all these years, and every time you guys come to town, it's great seeing you and working with you, and it's just great.
Thank
you.
you.
And I
it's
understand
always been a pleasure seeing and working with you too.
Thank you. And I understand possibly this week maybe going to a shooting range. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Now,
sitting in the control room. That's going to be quite different to the control room in London, I'm sure.
And so, how do you shoot often?
Well, as a special constable, we don't have firearms.
Right.
There is a firearms department, but the regular police officers they don't carry firearms. But we do have tasers.
Okay.
And tasers have just been introduced for specials, but that's another training step that I'd have to go through for that.
So will this be the first time shooting?
Yes,
Uh-oh.
absolutely.
Okay, I'll make sure
First
I'm
time.
a few steps away when we're doing that. That'd be great. But Penny Lancaster, what a great guest today and a great show. And I know you're very busy, so I know your time is very valuable, and I know you have to get running.
Going off to Rod's show tonight.
There you go, and you're going to a show tonight. Absolutely, I think somewhere in Canada possibly.
Yeah.
But and I know you have a few more shows coming up too, Mohegan Sun and a few other ones. And then I guess you're back to. Where do you normally make your home? Is it UK or?
Yeah, home. I guess our base is the UK, but after Rod's tour is finished in the US, we're going to have a week with family in Los Angeles. His eldest daughter's just given birth, so a new grandchild we're going to meet for the first time.
Oh, great!
And then head back to the UK for the start of the new school term for our youngest, Aiden. So
great.
it's busy.
Well, next time you're in town, which probably next year, we'd love to have you back on.
Thank you.
And because you've been a great guest and you're a great person, and God bless you and Rod and the family. So at this time, I'd like to thank my guest today and Penny Lancaster for coming here and giving us her time. And until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching as always. And God bless you. God bless America. God bless law enforcement throughout the world. And also, God bless our U.S. military. Until next time, thank you and be safe.